Live from Hollywood, California, VJ Vernon Husky, the Big Vanilla Funnies, Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah. Cam like it. 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 Go Cam. Go Cam. Go Cam. BJ's Unsportsmanlike Conduct live right now, man. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, BJ Vernon Husky. That's because that's who I am. I was going to say 8515. That's because I'm always right. Or 8515, man. Or that's because I always think I'm right. It used to be some old radio stuff I used to do, man. I've had so many nicknames, so many aliases that sometimes I forget them joys myself, man. Welcome everybody to VJ's Unsportsmanlike Conduct. As always, man, we are live right now. I want to thank everybody that's tuning in on YouTube, everybody that is tuning in on IG, Spreaker.com, and iHeartRadio. Great show for you guys lined up today. Y'all know the Big Vanilla Funny, the Blue Eye Barkley, the Creamy Kobe, the Big Vanilla Shat V, Stop Talk Boy, Mr. Never Shut Up, and the Big Vanilla Color Card, because I got a deck of them shits, because sometimes they got to be dealt out. And definitely after last week in the Capitol in D.C., the Color Card definitely has to be dealt out to a lot of America. But that's another topic for another show. Here, we're talking sports today. And as I told everybody before I started live on radio, if you hear that it sounds like I'm at a daycare or I'm at a kiddie arcade or Chuck E. Cheese or some shit, it's because I kind of am. I have Cameron right here with me this morning, and we got all of our sleep last night, which is very rare in my house. It's very rare that we get all of our sleep. We got all of our sleep last night, and then also no wake-ups. No wake-ups during the middle of the night, no crying. He slept right up underneath me. He slept right next to me all night long, so he was up early, and I kind of like when he's up early because then I know I can control his naps as the day goes, and then he'll crash again tonight, and we'll sleep all through tonight. Tonight is my last night of my class that I've been dealing with for the last 3 months. I finally turned in my last paper today, so I'm done with that, so I'm going to sleep soundly on a Friday night. I'm going to watch some NBA basketball tonight. I'm going to eat some good non-meat vegan food, and I'm going to enjoy my evening this evening once I'm done turning in all this work. But for right now, we are talking sports, so if you hear cartoons in the background, you hear toys making noises, that's what it is. I'm not unprofessional. I'm just being a father and a really cool daddy right now. First thing I want to get into, man, I want to start today's show off about last weekend's games. I haven't had a chance to get on air this week, talk about how things went down last weekend and my picks. I went 3-1 on the weekend. Only game I lost was the Bills and Colts game, and I thought that I should have won that one. I thought the Colts left 10 points on the board and gave away the game. I really do. I've been talking about Buffalo all year long. I don't feel that Buffalo is the power team that a lot of other people think they are. I think they were very beneficial of the Dolphins having a bounce back year, the Patriots having a down year, and the bum-ass Jets being the bum-ass Jets. Now, they did win some big games this year. They did beat some quality opponents, so I'm not going to take that away. They do have the league leader receiver in the NFL this year, and Stephon Diggs led the league in catches, led the league in yards, so I'm not going to take that away either. Josh Allen is a very good, young, developing quarterback. A lot of moxie, big arm, big body, big kid, loves to compete, and goes out there and gives you everything he got. So I'm not going to take that away from him. But I also look at the totality of things. It's the same thing I said about the Steelers, and I'll get into the Steelers in a second here with my opening rant. It's the same way I feel about the Saints this weekend. I understand that they've beaten the Bucs twice. I watched both those games. The second game in Tampa was a slaughterhouse. But I also know that the Bucs weren't offensively whole. They were still trying to figure things out. And like a lot of Tom Brady teams we've seen in the past, you could get a big win on them in October. You could get a big win on them in November. But after Thanksgiving weekend is when he really locks in, regardless of whether he has Gronk or he has Welker or he has Evans or he has Gronk again or he's got no running backs, 3 running backs, 2 running backs, a destined off running back that nobody else wanted, LeGarrette Blount and Corey Dillon, or whether he has an all-star, all-pro, number 1, probably GOAT receiver of all time in Randy Moss, or whether he's got a guy named Troy Brown who's playing corner, receiver, quarterback, safety, kick return, punt return. He just seems to lock in when it gets past Thanksgiving weekend, and that's exactly what we've seen with the Bucs this year. They're whole. Godwin's back. Evans is good to go. They have 2 tight ends. They got a running back that they actually sat down and was a DNP coach's decision 3 times this year. And LeGarrette Blount, people are like, what the hell's going on? They're saving him for this time of the year. Leonard Fournette. They're saving him for this time of the year. The same thing they used to do with LeGarrette Blount in New England. Nobody wanted LeGarrette Blount. Remember, LeGarrette Blount was jet set it off for the NFL. He will never play again. Can't stop smoking the weed. Can't stop getting in trouble. Can't stop this. Goes to New England, falls right in line, wins a couple of Super Bowl rings with Tom Brady toting the rock up there, especially after Thanksgiving. So when I look at last weekend and I look at the games and the scores that I saw, I had the Rams going up there and taking that game against the Seahawks. I've watched, I think, pretty much every Rams-Seahawks game in the last 4 or 5 years because I've been living here in Los Angeles. So they're going to play Los Angeles all the time on TV. And I've seen all those games. And other than a few times in Seattle really handling them, Los Angeles, the Rams, they always give him problems. They always give... I'm sorry, forgetting the damn Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. They're always giving those guys problems. They're always corrupting the offensive line and going hard at the offensive line and really digging in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's got like 3 interceptions to 1 Rams defender this year. He's been sacked by Aaron Donald 7 times this year. 7 times he's been sacked by one guy. They've sacked him 18 times in the 3 times they played him this year. They can't block the Rams. And DK Metcalf, in my opinion, is a one-trick pony. He's a deep guy. Or if Russell Wilson can scramble around and make 4 or 5 guys miss for 5 or 6 seconds, then he can get open and make a big play. You're asking him to run the route tree? I don't see that in DK Metcalf. I don't see him as being that guy that can run the route tree. But I love the spread. I took the spread. I cashed in on that one. Bears and Saints was an easy call last weekend. The Bucks and Washington, to me, was an easy call last weekend. But I tell you this, Heineke made himself some money. Heineke made himself some money. How long is it before he has a Heineken endorsement? His agent needs to get on the phone and get going. The name Heineke, oh my God, Meineke, Heineken, like there's 2 endorsements right there. There's 2 companies right there. That kid made himself some money last weekend by as well as he played, surprising everybody. Nobody thought Heineke was going to come in and play that well. Tony Dungy talked about it, raved about him, how well he was impressed and how much he was impressed by how well Heineke played. So when you look at last weekend, you look at some of the players that showed up. Big Ben threw for over 500 yards, but defense gave up 48. And we'll get into my picks for this weekend, too. I got the spreads. I got the money lines for you guys. And we got the over and unders. But we talk about Pittsburgh also, too. Listen, guys. I've been telling you about Pittsburgh all year long. Even when Pittsburgh was 8-0, 9-0. I started before 11-0. Because 11-0 is when the nation and the sports guys on TV and radio started kind of catching in. But they're late as always. They're always late behind me most of the times. I told people back then, this is a Fugazi team. They haven't beaten anybody, and then the bad teams they're barely squeaking by. They're not blowing anybody out. They're not going out and putting teams away. They're barely beating these scrubs. And it would show up in the postseason, late in the season, in the playoffs. They ended up losing 4 of the last 5, 5 of the last 6, including the playoff. And the defense gives up 48 points. It's 34-0 before you blink last week. It's 28-0 before you blink. I believe 35-7. It was 28-0 before you blink. Game, set, match. The run they've had, it's over. The run that Pittsburgh have, it's over. It's the same thing I've been telling people about Pittsburgh for the last few years. And I got some numbers and stats here and just some examples of what I've been saying about Pittsburgh. And I understand I always pom-pom for the black coach. I do. But it does get to a point where you don't need me to pom-pom for you. Like, Mike Tomlin doesn't need me to pom-pom for him. He does have a Super Bowl ring, albeit with Bill Cowher's players. But ever since he's had to get his guys in, 1 Super Bowl appearance, 2 years or 3 years after Cowher left. And then he takes over in 2007. They win the Super Bowl in 2008. They miss the playoffs the following year. They get back to the Super Bowl, lose to the Packers. And then ever since then, it's wild card or no playoffs. It's wild card home losses. If you think about their last 2 home playoff games, they've given up 48 and 45 points. To the Browns, listen to this, people. To the Browns and to the Jags. Think about that. In the last 2 home playoff games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have given up 48 and 45 points to the Browns and the Jaguars. The Jaguars have the number 1 overall pick this year in the draft. Hired Urban Meyer yesterday, have $100 million in salary cap and 11 draft picks. That's a team you lost to just 2 seasons ago in the playoffs at home, in the divisional round, and gave up 45 points to? 2 years prior to that, 19 and 18, 9-6 and 1, 8 and 8, missed the playoffs both times. 2017, 13 and 3, division loss, home loss. That was against the Jags. A 13-win team lost to the Jaguars at home and gave up 45 points. Steelers are supposed to be still town. It's supposed to be meant for defense there. 2016, 11 and 5, conference championship game. Another ass whooping to the Patriots. Another ass whooping and ass handing to the Patriots. Game 1 close. Patriots beat the living shit out of them, like they've mostly done. Tom Brady's like Michael Jordan in the sense that Michael didn't have a 20-year run like Tom did, because it's hard to do that in basketball. But at the quarterback position where you don't get hit a lot, you can play a whole hell of a lot longer than shooting guard, power forward, center, small forward, point guard. You can have a chance to develop some longevity and really stack the deck against people. And you're not going to win a Super Bowl every year. But God, if you think about it, the only other AFC quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl on Tom Brady's watch are Peyton Manning and Big Ben Roethlisberger. Flacco sneaked one in, and Mahomes got one in last year. Who's the other AFC winning Super Bowl quarterbacks? Like think about it. Think about that for a chance. Think about that for a second. In Tom Brady's 20 years in New England, there are what, three other quarterbacks in the AFC that were able to win a Super Bowl. And 1 year, the team that went to the Super Bowl when the Patriots didn't make the playoffs is because Tom Brady blew his knee out on the first game of the year against the Chiefs, when the Chiefs weren't very good. Just think about that for a second. That's the dominant hold that he's had over on the AFC. It's almost like Jordan. Nobody won on Jordan's watch. Once Jordan started winning, no one won. He beat everybody. He sent everybody on their merry way, to the point now that we want to discredit him so we could build LeBron more through the media. So we say he played against a bunch of plumbers. Well, what would you be saying if there was no Jordan? That means Peyton would have had a ring, Malone would have had a ring, Ewan would have had a ring, Miller would have had a ring, Sean Kemp would have had a ring, Shaq and Penny probably gets one. In Orlando, right? They went to the conference championship game, the conference finals that year, and got swept. By who? Jordan and the Bulls. That was after them losing in the finals to the Orlando Magic. Excuse me, to the Houston Rockets. They've just been so dominant. So they get